Oppenheim. Welcome, madam. You come to here with certain purpose. What is your experience regarding the conference we are having here in Varanasi in our institute?
My experience so far has been very positive. There have been a number of speakers talking about the issue of spirituality and the state of the global arena, and talking about the crisis and ways in which we can overcome it. So I think the issue that the conference raises is really fundamental.
When you talk about fundamental issues have been taken up in the spirituality, how do you define spirituality?
That's a very good question. Well, I think we start with ourselves, and obviously I'm American, I'm from the United States, so I've grown up in a certain culture, but as I have experienced life, what has become clearer and clearer to me over the years is that who I am as a human being is the most important thing, and what I bring is my connection and compassion for all other beings, human and other. And so that, for me, is the beginning, is the foundation of spirituality.
When we talk about spirituality and you belong to US, the recent crisis, economic crisis, then we have a discussion on globalization. Globalization has put certain challenges to the entire world, not only to one particular world, first world, second world, third world. What do you think that globalization has posed certain economic crisis? We'll be taking some other aspects also. But in your opinion?
Yes, there's both, I think, an economic crisis and a larger, what I might call cultural crisis. Economically, the use, and I would say in some ways the imposition of a particular model, economic model, which I call, or has been called, not just by me, neoliberal, which is valuing the free market above everything else, has created a certain kind of interaction among people and among nations, and it has had cultural consequences. So the emphasis is on the individual gain, what they call in economics profit maximization, rather than, let's say, the value of community, of living in harmony. And so as this neoliberal strategy took off, and we see it over time, particularly in the last 30 years, from the 1980s to the present, we can see where it has led, and one of the places it has led is to the current economic crisis. It's clearly not sustainable either in the United States or Western Europe, and beyond that, it has very negative consequences for less developed areas of the world, or areas within rich countries that are less developed as well. It exacerbates, it enlarges the differences between less fortunate and more fortunate people.
Okay, there is one opinion which is now understood, because even in India, when we started in 1991, we opened our economy. Globalization was thought panacea, it's a solution for every kinds of evils. Now there is some difference of opinion. Globalization is more economic rather than other aspects which you just mentioned about the culture and other thing. What's your idea about it?
Well, I think globalization is more than economic, because it has cultural and social and technological aspects of it as well, and consequences. I think most people, when they think about, at least initially when they think about globalization, they think about it in economic terms, as I've described. And yes, I think you're right, it was thought of as a panacea. Everyone is going to benefit, and the proponents of globalization, that's what they argue, that everyone benefits. But what we've seen is that that's not the case, and that the culture of self-interest, of focusing on the individual rather than in our connection with each other, I think is part of the reason that that's led us to this current crisis.
So basically, we talked so many things about globalization. Now, spiritualism, spirituality, these terms are becoming not popular, but it's emphasized nowadays. I don't know what's the situation in US, because the economic meltdown happened 2008 in US. Now there is a news about European economic meltdown. So do you find some answer in spiritualism regarding the economic meltdown. Will it give some answer to economic meltdown?
Yes, I think it will. I think we begin by, as I said earlier, this foundation of spirituality, which is recognizing our interconnectedness, that we're all interconnected. And when we do that, we then can build a kind of globalization that is different. So I would say, rather than rejecting globalization, we can reject the way in which it has, the particular manner in which current globalization has unfolded, that emphasizes the free market rather than people and communities. And once we do that, then I think we can have a very different kind of world. So, for example, one of the things I talk about, I'll be talking about in my presentation, is the Buddhist idea of mindfulness and engaged mindfulness that assumes we are all interconnected. And if we start from that place and from a place of compassion with others, then we will do things that not just benefit ourselves but benefit others. May I give you one example? Apparently in Japan, after the earthquake, the terribly devastating earthquake and tsunami of last March, Japanese have changed some of their behavior. And rather than, for example, buy a product that's less expensive or invest in companies because they think they're going to get the most profit, they have been buying goods from people who have been in the disaster area and have been affected by it. They've been investing their money to help these people regain their businesses. And there's a term now being used in Japan for this. It's called social sympathy. So this is one example of people acting not in this narrow sense of what can I do just for myself to maximize my own well-being, but understanding that their well-being is interconnected and linked to everyone else's well-being.
That's means Japanese always provided certain solution. This time I feel the example you have given. One more thing about the conference, the SMS has taken initiative, or institute has taken initiative. What's your reaction?
I'm very pleased and honored to be here, and I actually want to thank the conference organizers. They've done a magnificent job. I came from very far away, halfway around the world, and from the minute I received the first communication about the conference to all of the logistics, the planning has been really wonderfully done, and I think we see it in the product. So I want to thank the organizers for the wonderful job they've done.
There is always a challenge that we want to incorporate certain things like value and ethics, especially to inculcate all those things, especially in the education field. Do you think that it is practical to involve all those things into the education field throughout the world?
The relationship of spirituality in education?
In education.
Yes, I think it is important. In fact, one of the speakers today talked about this. And I come from an institution, a religiously based institution, and we talk about values as well. And so I think when we educate people, we need to educate the whole person. And as the speaker said earlier, we're not just turning out somebody who has knowledge, we're turning out a human being who's going to interact in the larger world, and we want them to be able to do so from a place of good values.
So when we talk about sustainable development, how one can be able to involve the entire world? I'm not talking about a particular area of the world, the entire world, because US tried to make an experiment through globalization, but there are other ways also. Spiritualism is considered one of the way. Will it be possible through spiritualism and the ideas of spiritualism?
Yes, I think so. In fact, I think that a spiritual approach to sustainable development gets us a lot further than the current global approach. So we see things such as social entrepreneurs, people working to help other people, not just to make money for themselves, but to use their entrepreneurial skills in other ways, or people who deal with microfinance or corporate social responsibility. So I think there are a lot of ways in which we are seeing in the world people using their spirituality and their sense of connectedness to others to create a more sustainable development.
SMS would like to get involved in it, we want certain suggestion from your side, from your institute, from your country. What would be your suggestion in order to enhance our effort?
Well, I think we should build on the relationships that we've been developing here at the conference. I think it's been a wonderful opportunity for us to begin to get to know each other. And when I return home, I will be speaking with the dean of my college about my experience here, and I hope that we will be able to move forward from there.
Thank you very much for your kind availability with us. Thank you.